Apart from that, there are certain more exemptions, 3 more exemptions. So let's see them also. So it says list of services exempt under IGST by notification number 9/17 also includes following 3 services. So CGST includes 82, IGST includes that 82 plus further some more activities. What are they? Number 1, services received from a provider of service located in a non-taxable territory. So these additional ones are basically relating to import exports, because import export is covered by IGST, it is not covered by CGST. So CGST need not give these exemptions because it doesn't cover import, but IGST covers import. So it says that if service is received from a provider located in non-taxable territory, means it is talking about import of service. Imported service we can write down in short. So in case of imported service, service is coming from outside India to a person in India, right? Imported service. Who is receiving it? Number 1, government, local authority, governmental authority, or an individual, that is you, in relation to any purpose other than commerce, industry, or any other business or profession. Therefore I said you, not me. Or even me, if I receive some personal service which is not in connection with my business or industry or profession, it has nothing to do with commerce, industry, business, profession. Okay, it's a personal service. Secondly, like for example, you hire an architect in USA to design your home in India. So that is import service. The architect of US is designing your home in India, but that is a personal service. I'm constructing my residential house. Am I using that service in my business or profession? No. Then that will be exempt. That is totally exempt. But this exemption is not for OIDAR service. Okay, you watch movie, you download a movie from a foreign website, that will not become exempt, even though that is a personal service. OIDAR is taxable even if it is given to individual for personal use. That exception is given below, we'll see. But architect service, yes, architect service will become exempt. If you're using that architect service to build your home, that is your personal residential house and not in the course of business or profession. Number 2, by an entity registered under section 12AA of the Income Tax Act for the purpose of providing charitable activities. So there is a trust in India, charitable trust, which provides a lot of charitable activities in India, and for that they are receiving some service from a person outside India, which will help them provide the charitable activities in India. So that will also be exempt. So first point covers the government itself. Government is the beneficiary of the service, recipient of service, exempt. Government, local authority, governmental authority. Then individual is covered if it is for non-business purpose. Then charitable institutions receiving service. And the third one is person located in a non-taxable territory. Means the recipient of service is also located in a non-taxable territory. The provider is also outside India and the recipient is also outside India. The service is received in India. Place of supply of service is in India. But the supplier is also outside India and the recipient is also outside India. So when both are outside India, why to tax it here? In Hindi there is a saying, Miya Bivi Razi to kya karega Kazi. So it's like that. If both of them are outside India, the supplier and the recipient, and only the service is in India, let it be exempt. But the proviso says that this shall not apply, the exemption shall not apply to OIDAR service or service by way of transportation of goods by a vessel from a place outside India up to customs station of clearance in India. So these two services are not covered by exemption notification. One is OIDAR and transport of goods, or rather I would say transport of imported goods, import goods by ships. So if the service is transport of import goods by ship, means goods are coming from outside India to India. So the ship which is providing this service of transport of import goods from New York port to Mumbai port, that will remain taxable, that will not be exempt. Okay, not be exempt in any of these 3 points. Custom station definition is given of no use. You all know what is a custom station. Then services received by Reserve Bank of India, RBI, from outside India in relation to management of foreign exchange reserves. This is also import service, because service provider is outside India and they are providing service to RBI. What is the service? Management of foreign exchange reserves. RBI has got a lot of foreign exchange reserves. This money that it has is kept outside India in some foreign depository bank. So that bank is giving service to manage the foreign exchange reserves. So that service will be exempt. In fact, I have told you earlier also that this is the only service which is received by RBI and it is exempt. Foreign exchange management service. Other than this, all other services received by RBI are taxable. Like I had given you the example, Farooq auditing RBI, providing audit service to RBI, that is taxable. And then the next one, the last one, is services provided by a tour operator. Tour operator. Like there is a company, Wanderers. It is run by my wife, Wanderers, and I am also part of it. I am crazy about adventure, but I am at the back end. So tour operator, to a foreign tourist in relation to a tour conducted wholly outside India. So what happens these days is that most of the tour operators have their websites. They give service through their websites. So the actual client need not come to office. So I keep talking to my wife, of course, and she keeps telling me that almost 75% of her clients who book through her different tours don't come to office. Only 25% people who are in the same city, they come down to office. But 75 to even 80% of our clients are from different places, including foreign countries. So recently there was a client who lives in US. He wanted to travel to Europe, of course of Indian origin. I don't remember the name, but he was Indian origin. So he just found out on the net that who are the good service providers. So Wanderer's name came up. So he called, and they call up. First they mail, and then they call up and talk and discuss and decide where to go, what is the cost and everything, and they pay. So they pay online, and what my wife does is that she books all the services of the Europe tour for the American guy. So the traveler is US citizen, he is traveling to Europe and he is booking his tour through an Indian tour operator. Now just imagine, the booking is done by Indian travel agent or the tour operator. If we charge GST on this, what will happen? The tour will become costlier. There's a 5% GST. So if it is charged, the tour will become costlier. And if the tour provider adds Indian GST, then why that foreigner will book from an Indian tour operator? He will say, Tata bye bye, I'll go to another tour operator who will not charge this GST. So therefore Government of India has given this exemption, because even the tour is outside India and the traveler is outside India. Both are outside India. So why should we charge? Because if we charge, we'll lose the clients. Nothing else will happen. So therefore the exemption is given. Okay. But the tour should be wholly outside India. This is important point. Wholly outside India. But say if the tour is partly in India and partly outside India, then what will happen? Then it will be chargeable to GST. So if it is partly in and out of India, then it will be taxable. Write down, partly in and out of India, then it will be taxable. Means say if a client of US is traveling to Middle East first, 7 days he'll stay in Middle East, Dubai and all places, then he'll come down to India for 7 days, and then he's going to Bangkok and Pattaya and all for another 7 days. So total 21 days tour is there, booked by the Wanderers of India for the foreign client. Then what will happen? The whole amount of the tour will be taxable, remember. Then the exemption will not apply. And the definition of tour operator is given, means a person engaged in business of planning, scheduling, organizing, arranging tours. So you call them as travel agents also, you call them as tour operators also, which may include arrangements for accommodation, sightseeing and all by any mode of transport. It can be airlines, it can be bus or anything, and includes any person engaged in business of operating tours. So even the persons who operate the tours are also covered here. So travel agents and tour operators both are covered by the definition. Then the fourth exemption is interstate supply of services having place of supply, underlying place of supply, in Nepal or Bhutan. In Nepal or Bhutan, against payment in Indian rupees, because Indian rupees is accepted there, though you have to use only 100 rupees note or less. 500 or 2000 rupee notes are not acceptable in Nepal and Bhutan. So only 100 rupee notes is nowadays acceptable there. Have been exempted by notification number 42 by 2017. So now why it is called as interstate? Because import export comes in interstate now. Import export is called as interstate supply. So basically the location of supplier may be anywhere in India. Supplier is based in Delhi, but the place of supply is in Kathmandu, that is Nepal or Bhutan, and the money is taken in rupees also, no problem, it will be exempted. Then next is number 5, services received from a provider of service located in non-taxable territory. So provider is located in non-taxable territory, may be USA, by way of supply of online educational journals or periodicals to an educational institution other than an institution providing service by way of preschool or education as part of approved vocational education course. Means now we have seen the definition of educational institution, remember, I think clause 66 was there for educational institutions. Yes, so in that we had seen this point also, online educational journals, and we had seen there that if this service is given to a college or university, then it is exempt. So that clause was applicable for India. Here it says that even if the service provider is in non-taxable territory, that is USA or Germany or wherever, and this supplier who is based out of USA provides the online educational journals or periodicals to whom? To a college or university, then it is exempt. College or university in India which is providing approved programs by law in India, so that is exempt. But if the same online educational journals are provided to schools up to HSC or the vocational education centers, then it will be taxable. So if it is provided to these people, then it is taxable, because it says other than these two. So if provided to these two, then it is taxable. If provided to college, university, then it will be exempt. Then next one is royalty and license fee. Royalty and license fee is exempted from IGST to the extent it is paid on consideration attributable to royalty and license fee included in transaction value under Rule 10(1)(c) of Customs Valuation Rules of 2007. Now, if you have already studied my Customs Act, then fine, you will understand this. If not, I'll explain. What it says, that when some exporter exports goods to India, like for example some machinery is exported from Germany to India, then there is a contract for sale, of course, the sale of machinery, but then there will be use of machinery also. Now, if some patents are involved in the developing of this machinery, or if there are patents for use of machinery, then if you pay 20 lakh for import, that's fine. But then when you use this machinery, you have to pay extra royalty for that. You have to pay extra royalty for use of the machine. Now, what customs valuation rules say, specifically this Rule 10 of Customs Valuation Rules, that whatever royalty you are going to pay for use of the machinery imported into India shall be added to the value of machinery itself, and customs duty will be charged on it. Means customs duty will be charged on the royalty also. So when royalty is added to the value of machinery for charging customs duty, will that royalty be charged separately to IGST also? No, because that will result in double taxation. Because as you know, I must have told you before that when you import goods into India, on importation there is basic customs duty and there is also IGST. IGST is also imposed at the time of importation of goods. So IGST is already imposed under customs, that is under Customs Tariff Act, section 3 subsection 7 to be precise, imposes IGST, but that is imposed under Customs Act. So will you separately impose it under IGST Act again? No, that will result in double taxation. So therefore here it is exempted. So it says the IGST will be exempt if the royalty or the license fee is already included in transaction value for the purpose of customs duty. Simple. So that is explained below also, that IGST leviable on import of services in relation to temporary transfer or permitting use or enjoyment of intellectual property right has been exempted to the extent of the aggregate of the duty of custom leviable under section 3(7). So this 3(7) is that IGST on imported goods on the consideration declared under section 14(1) of the Customs Act towards royalty and license fee included in the transaction value under Rule 10(1)(c). So what happens is, I can show you that if you have imported the machinery and the value of machinery, so I'll write value of import is say 10 lakhs, and then you pay some royalty also apart from the price of the goods, so that royalty will be added there. Suppose the royalty is 2 lakhs or the license fee, that will be added, and total transaction value will become 12 lakhs. And then you will charge the basic customs duty and the IGST on the whole 12 lakhs. In fact, first the BCD will be added, and then on the total you will have to pay IGST also. Okay. So as IGST is already imposed on this 2 lakh component, therefore it will not be imposed separately under IGST Act. This IGST is, you can say, countervailing duty of IGST, CVD of IGST. This is imposed under section 3(7) of Customs Tariff Act. So this is imposed under Customs Tariff Act. It becomes part of customs duties. It is a countervailing of local IGST. So once it is charged there under Customs Act, it will not be charged separately under the IGST Act.